Level 1. Passive reconnaissance. No alarms ring, no firewalls trigger. The attackers haven't even touched your network yet. They are simply watching, quietly harvesting exactly what you willingly broadcast to the world. November 2017. Soldiers at a secret U.S. military base in Syria go for a run. They wear fitness trackers, logging their routes on an app called Strava. 3 months later, Strava publishes a global heat map of user activity. Anyone with a web browser can see the exact layout, the patrol routes, the shift changes, all for a classified forward operating base. That is passive reconnaissance. You don't need a single line of code to exploit human nature. Attackers scrape LinkedIn. They map out your entire IT department. They read your company's job postings. If you are hiring an expert in Oracle databases, the attacker now knows exactly what internal infrastructure you run. A threat actor finds your new system administrator on Twitter. She just posted a picture of her new desk. Zoom in. There is a sticky note on the monitor. Half blurred, it reveals the exact format of their internal employee IDs. They pull public tax records. They cross-reference employee social media accounts. They figure out who handles the invoices, who goes on vacation when, and what the CEO named their dog. It is digital stalking on an industrial scale. Because this reconnaissance happens completely off-network, your security team is entirely blind. The breach has already started, and you have absolutely no idea. Level 2. Active probing. Now they touch the perimeter, testing your external defenses to see what might be unlocked. They aren't trying to break in. Not yet. They just want to know what kind of locks you use. They send tiny automated packets of data to your company's servers. Ping. A response comes back. Ping. Another response. They are actively mapping the open ports. They use search engines like Shodan. Shodan doesn't index websites. It indexes connected devices. Unsecured security cameras, exposed routers, forgotten medical equipment, industrial control systems. If your company accidentally left a backup server connected to the public internet, Shodan finds it. May 2017. A scanning tool sweeps the network of Equifax. It hunts for a very specific vulnerability in web software called Apache Struts. The flaw is publicly known as CVE-2017-5638. A security patch had been available for 2 months. Equifax hadn't installed it. The active probe doesn't just ping the server. It sends a crafted web request. The Apache software processes the malicious header, confirming the exploit works. That is the exact moment the door unlocks. The attackers didn't need a crowbar. They just asked the server if it was broken, and the server told the truth. This happens millions of times a day. Automated scripts constantly sweep the entire IPv4 address space, looking for a cracked window, a misconfigured firewall, a forgotten VPN gateway. Your security team might see these logs, but they blend into the constant deafening background noise of the internet. Just another drop in the ocean. Until it isn't. Level 3. The Foothold. The attacker steps inside. This is the moment of actual compromise. Initial access, and it is rarely highly technical. It usually looks like a simple email. July 15th, 2020. A massive breach hits Twitter. The accounts of Barack Obama, Elon Musk, and Apple suddenly tweet out Bitcoin scams. How did a group of hackers compromise the most heavily fortified social media platform on Earth? They didn't invent a zero-day exploit. A teenager from Florida simply picked up the phone. He called Twitter employees, claiming to be from the internal IT help desk. He cited a problem with the VPN and directed them to a fake login page. They typed in their credentials. He captured them. That is a foothold. A spear phishing email with a malicious PDF. A brute force attack against a weak password. Or an initial access broker doing the heavy lifting, stealing the credentials, then selling the working access on the dark web for $50. Once those credentials are typed in, the attacker is authenticated. The system thinks they belong there. Your firewall assumes it is just Brenda from accounting logging in from a new laptop. The alarm doesn't sound because the attacker didn't break a window. They used Brenda's key. The perimeter is officially breached, but at this stage, they are usually stuck on a single machine with low-level permissions. They can't access the core databases yet. They need more power. Level 4. Privilege escalation and lateral movement. Being inside a corporate network as a low-level user is like being trapped in the lobby of a skyscraper. You are inside, but you can't reach the vault. You need the elevator key. That is privilege escalation. The attacker dumps the memory of the compromised machine. They hunt for leftover administrator credentials cached deep in the system. They exploit unpatched local software to trick the operating system into granting them system-level rights. Once they have administrative control over one machine, they start moving sideways, lateral movement, hopping from Brenda's laptop to the marketing server, from the marketing server to the HR database, from the HR database to the domain controller. Look at the devastating Target data breach of 2013. The hackers didn't attack Target's main network directly. They stole credentials from Fazio Mechanical Services, a small refrigeration and HVAC vendor that Target worked with. The attackers used those vendor credentials to bypass the perimeter and enter Target's third-party billing portal. From there, they didn't stay in billing. They moved laterally. Exploiting network misconfigurations, they jumped from the vendor system directly into the core corporate network. Then they moved again, pushing custom malware straight onto the point-of-sale cash registers in thousands of retail stores. 40 million credit card numbers stolen, all because a thermostat vendor walked through the digital walls and touched the cash registers. Attackers map the internal network. They find the domain controller. This is the absolute heart of the machine. It holds the keys to everything. They quietly upgrade their access until they become ghosts in the network. They have God mode. Level 5, persistence and command and control. Networks reboot. Passwords get reset. Security teams run aggressive sweeps. If an attacker only has one way into the network, they could lose their access at any given second. So they build backdoors, dozens of them, embedding malicious scripts into the Windows registry so the malware survives every system reboot. They create fake administrator accounts with legitimate-sounding names. Sysadmin Backup 04. They alter scheduled tasks. This is persistence. They are digging their trenches. At the same time, they need to communicate with the infected machines without triggering intrusion detection systems. They establish command and control, or C2, routing their outbound traffic to look like normal web browsing. In the 2020 SolarWinds supply chain attack, Russian state-sponsored hackers compromised the Orion network monitoring software. This software was deeply trusted by thousands of massive corporations and U.S. government agencies. The genius wasn't just how they got in, it was how they stayed hidden. The Sunburst backdoor didn't just blast data out to a suspicious Russian IP address. It waited up to 2 weeks before doing anything. When it finally communicated with its command server, it disguised its traffic as the legitimate SolarWinds API protocol, looking exactly like routine software updates, blending in perfectly with the baseline noise of the network. Functionally invisible. The attackers sat comfortably inside the networks of the Department of Justice, the Treasury, and major telecom companies for over 8 months, undetected, maintaining a permanent, silent tether to the internal infrastructure. They could execute commands at will. The trap was fully set. Level 6, data exfiltration. This is the heist. The attacker has access. They have power. They are invisible. Now, they locate the core assets: proprietary source code, unreleased financial earnings, customer databases, medical records. But stealing terabytes of data isn't as simple as clicking download. They can't just dump 500 gigabytes to an unknown IP address at 3 a.m. Security tools would scream, the alarm would trip. So the attackers get creative. They compress the data into encrypted archive files, break those archives into tiny, manageable chunks, then slowly drip-feed the data out of the network over weeks or even months, tunneling the stolen data through the DNS protocol. This is the system that translates website names into IP addresses. To a firewall, it just looks like the computer is asking for website directions. In reality, it is smuggling out credit card numbers, a few bytes at a time. Or, if the internal network is blind, they just package it all up and walk out the front door. 2015. Hackers breach Ashley Madison. The impact team siphons out a massive database. The personal details of 32 million users are stolen. They mapped the network, escalated privileges, packaged the databases, and bled the company dry. No one noticed the massive spike in outbound traffic. No security appliance flagged the anomaly. The company was completely oblivious while their entire business model was transferred to a remote server. The attackers have everything they want. The data is gone. The network is compromised, but the victims still think it's just a normal Tuesday. Level 7, the final payload. The silence breaks. Up until this exact second, the attackers desperately wanted to stay hidden. Now, they want to be seen. The exfiltration is done. The backdoors are secure. It is time to cash out, cause chaos, or burn the evidence. This is when the ransomware drops. May 2021. The Colonial Pipeline supplies 45% of all fuel for the U.S. East Coast. Suddenly, they realize they have a massive problem. The screens in their control rooms go dark. The DarkSide ransomware group detonates their payload. The malware executes simultaneously across the network, instantly encrypting billing systems, internal servers, and corporate data. A text file appears on the desktops demanding $4.4 million in Bitcoin. It is not just a digital problem anymore. Gas stations run dry, flights are grounded, panic buying causes miles-long lines at the pumps across several states. The pipeline literally shuts down its physical operations because the digital infrastructure is paralyzed. This is the stage you read about in the news. But make no mistake, the ransomware isn't the breach. The ransomware is just the smoke alarm going off after the house has already burned down. The threat actors were inside the Colonial Pipeline network for days before they locked the files. Sometimes it is extortion. Hackers email the CEO threatening to release the exfiltrated data unless a ransom is paid. Sometimes it is pure sabotage, deploying wiper malware to permanently destroy hard drives and cripple a rival nation's infrastructure. By the time the final payload executes, the real hack is completely over. You haven't just been breached, you've been conquered.